It's going. Hello, hello, hello. We are now live on Facebook.
We made
Yay!
it. We made it live.
We made it. We made it.
So
New
what was the
time.
problem? Yeah,
New
yeah.
time. New time. This morning was just not going to happen. And so, Jason, we just said, well, what are we going to do? It's like, well, let's change the time. So here we are. We are live now, 3:00. Do you think, I don't know what, Jason? Okay, let's introduce ourselves and then we'll talk.
All right, all right.
My name is Barbara-Ellison, and I am your personality pro. And because personality drives reality. And I'm on a mission to make happiness the norm, rather than the exception. And I want people to live happy, healthy, financially free, abundant lives. And part of that is having impact and having influence and earning income. All those are all things that impact our lives and our happiness. So that's kind of what this show is about. Today we're going to talk about all sorts of fun things. The fun things that I had this morning with tech, of course, my friend. And then Jason is going to talk about the fun things that he had today with marketing and new clients. So we are just going to have lots of stuff for you today. So stay tuned. And if you're here, leave us a note. Send us some loves down below. You know where to do it. And we'll talk to you soon. So, Jason, take it away. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Jason Tracy. I'm founder of Roar Consulting, and I think we really hit it off because it's like being natural and being within your personality, but being vulnerable. And so there's so many people that I've met. I've worked with so many salespeople. I've worked with so many entrepreneurs, or I've met so many entrepreneurs. And a lot of times they feel like they're trying to be somebody else when they're selling. They feel like they're being somebody else when they're in a networking meeting or somebody asks them about their products and their services. They kind of get that icky feeling. And what I do is I help people embrace their differences, utilizing their vulnerabilities, their expertise, their experiences, their personality types, tying into what Barbara does in making that their sales process, making sales natural to them as
Right.
opposed to trying to be somebody else.
Right. That's one of the things when I was first introduced to, the selling and network marketing and all those kinds of things. I mean, they would teach us strategies and tips and some of them
Yeah,
were like, I can't do
I
that.
can't do
But
that, right?
I can't do that. I mean, I remember one time I was doing a presentation and and it was a practice kind of thing, but my brother-in-law, and he said, Barb, he said, ooh, no, that's a hard sell. And it
Yes.
just really, and I went, "Okay, Barb, that's not you. I had to learn how to
Yeah.
be me." And that's one of the things that I love now about doing my bank. I have learned my strengths. I have learned to accept me and how I approach things. And then all I have to do is tweak my approach to take in the other codes, because it's not about how I want to present, it's how they are willing to receive, how they want to receive. And that is just a tweaking, but it doesn't mean that you have to be inauthentic. You can be you, but I can learn to talk to somebody about what they're looking for, whether they're a blueprint, where they're looking more to what I can offer to help them with their structure and
Mhm.
with their planning. But then the action people, they want to know, hey, they want to know about the opportunity. They want the sizzle, like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
and the nurturers, we want to know what we're going to do, how we can use what you do. Like if I'm talking to you, what
Yeah.
you can use what you do to make a difference in the world. But then the K people, they want to know all the data. They want to know all the research. Well, if you're an action person and you're trying to enroll a K person,
Yeah.
butt up. Doesn't
Yep.
work. So that's why it is so fun that you can learn to be yourself. Absolutely. But learn the tools. Embrace the
Yeah.
tools that's going to help you to be authentic. However, but also to mesh with it. And it's just tweaking.
Well, and the
And
funny thing is I always talk about one of the first things I address with people is working on themselves,
yeah,
embracing who they are, embracing their story. But then the really first step in my process is to, after that, because there's the fundamentals that you have to understand, and this is outward mindset, or I'm sorry, embracing your inner self, or embracing your authentic self is that mindset.
Right.
However, it's not about you in sales. In
Right.
sales and in relationship building, it's about that other person. And so having that outward mindset, it's so important to be comfortable talking to people, knowing that I'm not trying to be somebody else. It's so
Right.
hard to be successful being ourselves, let alone when we're trying to be somebody that we're not. And
Exactly.
I see, you said you had defined your personality. You had to understand, or like, this is, and communicate within yourself, because you're not the boiler room, the used car salesperson
No.
that you may
No.
see. And a lot of people will question, like, well, I'm not that person. I'm not that, that guy, that gal that is just so social and gregarious
Right.
and wants
Right.
to talk people's ear off, Um, but so be comfortable being yourself, but then go get the tools to make sure that you are maximizing the communication in your relationships.
Right. Right. And that's what it's all about, is find the people that you resonate with, that you can learn from.
Yes. Yeah,
And
so
that's the
key.
biggest thing. And but the key there is find the person, yes, but then do the learning.
Be coachable.
Embrace embrace the learning.
Embrace the learning. Embrace the learning, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being coachable is a term that's so funny. I
Yeah.
had somebody that I had mentored on my leadership team several years ago, and when I first met her, we had, within the first few months of meeting her, we had a leadership exercise that we had did. A company came in and did a leadership training with us, and they had asked us to write on the wall. Each person had to put on a piece of paper on the wall with their name on it, and they
Mhm.
asked us to write two things, or write something about that person. So during the breaks, we'd get up and we'd write a word that described that person. And for
Right.
Kelly, I put that she's coachable. And so fast forward several years later, this was last year, we're having a conversation on the phone. I'd already started my business, or I'd already been in business, and I had left that company years ago. And she was telling me about her new person that she had on her team. And she was like, I really like him. She was like, he's really coachable. And then all of a sudden she started laughing. And she was
Mhm.
like, I've got a story for you. I'm like, what's that, Kelly? She was like, you remember this training? And she described this training to me that I just described to you. And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, I remember you wrote on my paper that I was coachable. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I did. And she was like,
Yeah.
that crushed me. She was like, I thought when you said that I was coachable, it meant that I had a lot that I had to learn, that you didn't believe in me,
Wow.
or whatever the case.
Wow.
She's like, I didn't know what coachable meant. She was like,
Right.
after I got to know you, I realized that was one of the best compliments you could have given me. That was
Right.
something that you felt was in is you hold a high standard, and you thought that
Mhm.
about me. And she's
Mhm.
like, now I understand what coachable is. And so I have a different take
Right.
on it. But how many people feel that way?
Right. And one of the things that story brings to mind is that sometimes, as coaches and as marketing people, we tend to use whoops, we tend to use jargon that makes
Yeah.
sense to
Oh yeah.
you, makes
Yep.
sense to me, like that
Yep.
word coachable.
Mm.
She did not know what that meant. How often, and
Yep.
the thing is,
So true.
people don't like to ask
Oh my God.
because
Yeah.
they're afraid of looking foolish.
Foolish.
So that's one of the things that I really try to work with people also, that use bank, absolutely, but get away, put it in terms that each personality will relate to, and
Mm.
get out of the jargon.
Yeah.
Because like I'll have to tell you a funny story, and totally not in coaching, but but in the restaurant, I used to work in a fine dining restaurant. I mean, I wore a tux,
Wow.
and we did tableside service, the whole nine yards. So we worked with quite a few companies. Like one of the companies we had was Mercedes Benz. They would
Okay.
come and do these corporate luncheons. So they would be having a corporate meeting. They would call us, whoever would call us in the morning, and they would place their order. And so all they had to do was walk in, sit down, and we started serving, because they were on a short time. But it was fine dining.
Yeah.
This one time in the restaurant, there was a door coming out and there was a door coming in, because
Oh no.
you cannot pass You can't, because you'll have accidents. So there was distinct indoors and outdoors. Well, I was coming out into the dining room. The daytime floor manager was going into the kitchen. All one of the vice presidents heard was, "Fire Mercedes!" He turned around and looked at me and went, "What?" And I said, "Oh, Bob, that means to put your food on." And then, of course, he laughed. He laughed so hard, but then it became a joke. He would come
Yeah.
in, then he would come in and he'd say, "Oh, go tell the kitchen, fire us, just, fire Mercedes." And it became a joke but then he knew, and then he felt like an insider
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
he
He knew the
understood
lingo.
that lingo. But until that moment, the look on his face of pure
Fire
shock,
Mercedes.
"Fire Mercedes," because it was just timing, and that's all he heard, because she
Yeah.
yelled it, because the whole kitchen had to hear it, because there was all different things that were going to be served, from salads and entrees and broiler and all of those things. So the whole kitchen had to know that, to make sure everything was ready. And "Fire Mercedes."
But you talk
Well,
about lingo and
talking about
insider
lingo.
communication.
Yep, exactly. And we have to, and I think that's what happens so often to sometimes people that are new, that they're so excited about their product or their service
Mm,
that they talk about, and then it's like, "Yeah, what did you mean by that?" And people won't ask. So,
yes.
because one of the biggest rules of sales, and I mean, I know you say this all the time, a confused mind does nothing.
Yes. Yep. If you've ever had somebody say, I got to think about it,
It, yeah,
they're a confused mind. They're
they're
not
either,
going home and
yeah.
mulling the words that you said to them.
Some of them will be. That's why it's always beneficial to know that they're a K person up front. That's why I really try to find out their code before I have a presentation with them. Like, I
Yeah.
just came off of a presentation with a gal in England. She's so excited. But I knew going in, because I had her crack her code. And I
Yeah.
knew what
Yeah.
buttons to put. I knew what to say to her. She's now so excited she can see the possibilities of it, because we did a presentation, and she said, "Oh, Barb, this is going to make my life so much easier," because she writes content.
Well, and if
And
you know that's a K person, though, and they say, I got to think about
think
it,
about it, they do.
they
They have to
do.
do their due diligence.
But where are they going to think about it at? Are they going to your competitor? And so if you know what
Right.
personality type they are and you know
Exactly.
they're a K person, can you
You
lead that conversation?
absolutely.
Can you
You
find out what questions you could answer for them? Could you send
right.
them some resources for them to be able
That's
to look up?
exactly. I
You
had a
cater to
gal.
them.
I catered to
Because,
them.
yep.
Because one of the things, like for me in my system, with K's, we have white papers, we have articles written about us that are all that are technical, that are a little more technical. So I had a K gal last week, and I've touched base with her. You have to do follow up with them, absolutely. But the
Yep.
first thing, when I knew she was a K, I was ready with, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to send you the white papers. There's 3 of them, one for 3 different industries. You're going to be able to read each one of them. You're going to be able to read the article that was written up on us by Forbes magazine about the potential of AI in sales. And these are all the things." And she was like, "Oh, thank you so much, Barb. I'm going to enjoy reading them." Exactly.
Yes.
But you know it
Yes.
up front. So
Yep.
they're just, so that they don't go to your competitor, because
Yes.
you have what they want, and you're talking to them the way they want to be talked to.
Yes, and they will go to a competitor because they're an unsettled mind. They're going to find more resources. They're going to constantly look for more resources.
Yeah,
And the person that is able to give them the best resource to help them change their mind is the person they will buy from.
exactly. Yeah, because one of my sayings that I tell people is that you can't really sell to a K person. What we call a K person. You can't
Yeah,
sell to them. You have to give them all the data, all the information, so that they sell themselves. Because
yeah,
they're going to sit
yeah,
there and say, "Oh yeah, I need to do this.
yep.
This is
It
what
was
is
your
good, and
decision.
this is why it's going to work for me."
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So important. And yeah, and no jargon.
No jargon. Oh
No
man,
jargon. That's
I worked
huge.
for Verizon. Like I said, we were an agent of
Okay.
Verizon, and their
Yeah.
acronyms, they make an acronym for everything. And it
Hmm.
would drive me crazy. Like I have to sit and find the acronym dictionary with Verizon in order to find out what we're even talking
Right.
about. And now if I'm speaking to a client and I'm using these same acronyms, I've
Right.
really confused them.
Yep. Right. Like even just in our messaging, one day
Yeah.
I got the BTW. What's BTW? Well, it's by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously? I had to stop and I was like, yeah. When did I mean, by the way, it could have been anything,
Yo, yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It could have been anything. Luckily, it was like, oh, okay, that may I had to read, but I had to read the rest of the sentence. Oh, oh, by the way.
By the way,
Okay.
that's so funny.
It just, and haven't we gotten so far off of doing that, of using words that are relevant, that are effective.
Yeah.
We've,
Yeah. That's so
oh, wow.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fire Mercedes, I love that story. It was just the look on his face was priceless. But but he just, I mean, I happened to be there and saw it. But can you imagine if we had been in a situation where you were on a phone and you didn't see that look of shock? And
Yeah.
you would have just been going on with whatever it is that you were saying, and they have now tuned you out because a
Yes.
confused mind does nothing.
Yep.
Or they go to your competitor.
Yep.
So yeah.
So
Uh,
true.
great conversation, Jason. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So one of the things that I had said that we were going to talk about some strategies. So let's talk strategies. So
Yeah.
what's something
Yeah.
that you can, like one of my things that I just said on my presentation this morning, you don't know what you don't know.
So
And
true. So
and
true.
sometimes you don't even know, you're not even aware that you don't know it.
Yeah. So, and it's that this all ties into you mentioned what you wanted to talk about, and I just got fresh off a phone call with a client, and we had a coaching session earlier this morning. Uh, but so she called me back because she had a big meeting, and a potential client had called her and wanted her to present to them what she would do. And she's a recovery coach. She's amazing. Like I mentioned, she's been just recently been told that she is the Oprah of sobriety and recovery coaching.
Wow.
And what do you mean by that is when you think of bodybuilding, who do you think of?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right? That's the universal answer that I
Right.
always get. And Arnold
Right.
Schwarzenegger hasn't did bodybuilding since the 1970s.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like
Right.
majority of
Or
his life he has not been a bodybuilder now at this
right.
point. So they were in
Right.
2021, but yet he's the most widely known name. He creates that brand because he defined what a bodybuilder was.
Right.
He was just again gregarious personality, he explained
Right.
himself well, he exuded confidence, he branded himself. My client is in that same manner. Like she's becoming the face because she's the only one out there really educating people on what exactly it is that she does. And so my whole like marketing stories sell,
Right.
telling your story, being vulnerable.
Right.
Sparkle, she is again phenomenal. She's been sober now for 2 years. She just hit her 2 year
Wow.
mark. She's now empowering other people as a recovery coach, and she's so impactful because she's been through the journey.
Right.
But as she's describing her vulnerabilities and what she's been through, and then she starts talking about what it is and how she works with clients, something she
Hmm.
said to me that was so incredible. And this is a perspective change that makes the difference when you're selling and
Right.
marketing
Right.
is have you seen success? Have
Right.
you seen success with what you're doing? Do you believe in what you're doing?
Hmm.
Maybe if you haven't even seen success, do you believe that when you work with somebody that you're
Right.
going to make a difference in their life?
Right.
She went into this meeting knowing and seeing the results. She knows how much impact she has in people's life. And so a lot of people when they go in, they had said, we've had other recovery coaches come in and present to us, and they've every time they've left, we've never had a really good understanding of what it is that
Hmm.
they do. This is the
Right.
first time that we brought somebody in and we now completely understand what it is that you do in the
Right.
value in why we should partner with you, why we should bring
Right.
you in and hire you to work with our clients.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's telling those stories. And one of the things they asked her was, what in coaching, what do you do? Do you give them a framework and you make them, like you give them these ideas? No. She said, I have a client that is, going through sobriety and recovery. However, she has all these other issues and she has a really awesome system. I'm not going to steal her thunder because we're going to have her on the show, but it correlates with the story in the sense that she was able to explain nobody wants to go through it alone. This
Exactly.
this lady she was her client was struggling because she was bankrupt, but she didn't know she wanted to file bankruptcy. And
Mhm.
her biggest holdup was that she didn't want to make the wrong decision. And if she had somebody there to talk her through it and she
Mhm.
can move past that, does that put her in a better spot in life?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so Sparkle, I'm so proud of her, and I have to shout her out, and because she's amazing again, and she's impacting lives. But she's impacting lives because she's able to explain what it is
Mhm.
that she does by telling those stories and making it so
Mhm.
relatable. And she's
Right.
being vulnerable, and she's telling personal stories about herself
Right.
that I'm sure a few years ago she didn't think that she'd be up telling anybody.
Right. Yeah, when I look back on my journey, after when David died, of just one of the
Yeah,
things that I work with, just of sharing with people how to how to move on, how to get going again, and just finding out who I was. I think that was one of the things we talked about in our first conversation, that I had no idea who I was
yeah,
outside of being a wife and a mother and a grandmother, and I had been divorced and I had been bankrupt and I had been, you know, but who was I? And I was so ashamed of some of the things that
yeah,
how did I let myself get into such a financial bind after David died, that it was like, oh brother, how did that happen? And yet now it's just a word. It's
right,
but you know what? I can work with somebody and say, hey, you know what, if you're on the brink of this, don't do what I did. I tried to hide it for the longest time. I didn't want to admit it, that I was in
hmm
financial difficulty. And then it was like, Barbara, but then once, the funny thing is, people, I'm talking to here. Listen to this. If you're going through something, share it. You would not believe, people will come out of the
yes.
woodwork saying, oh yeah, I did that. It's,
Barbara, you said this quote the other day, a couple of weeks ago. You said and you might say this might be your quote that you have on your quote card that you need to
mm,
put on social media is if you thought it, if you've been through it, you have to share it because other people have thought it or been
oh
through it
yeah,
too.
yeah. I'll have to put that out. Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
absolutely the truth.
that's absolutely the truth. And I've been on so many podcasts in the past 2 weeks, and I've been crediting you because it always comes up, and I'm like, my friend Barbara says,
Yeah.
so I've been crediting it. So you have a quote out there. This is your quote. That's your
Perfect.
power
I'm
quote.
gonna have to make it. I'm gonna have to make a graphic about it, because it's absolutely the truth.
Yep.
The thing is that, like for me, I'm a woman of faith, so it's the devil that tries to keep you isolated,
Yeah.
keep you in the darkness.
Yep.
But when you share it with just one person, when you share that struggle with one
Yes.
person, it's like there's the candle of the one little candle flame of light, and then you can move forward. And
I,
that's the key, moving
It's so
forward.
key. Moving forward, healing,
Yeah,
the moving from victim to being
right,
empowered is
right,
is really embracing that story. If you can talk about it and you can share it, it means that
mhm,
you've healed.
right.
And
If you
I
can talk about
know
it
because I've
without
been through it.
crying, talk about it without
Well,
crying.
yeah.
You
Sometimes
know,
I talk about it with crying
and,
because I'm
and
so
so
happy
yeah,
about where I've come.
right, exactly, exactly. That sense of relief that you can talk about it. And one of the things, like I do mirror work with people, because you have to get in touch with yourself before you can possibly relate to somebody else.
It became 90 degrees in my office, so I'm
Ah,
stripping down.
yes, hey, I love it, love it. Plus, I love the shirt. Yeah.
Yep, right.
Uh,
Be the difference.
be the difference. But it's absolutely the truth. And one of the things that I work with too is that, know who you are within what you do.
Yeah.
And I said that to a gal one day, and it like absolutely stopped her. She says, well, I do this and I do that. And I said, no, but who are you within that? That's what you do. And it's commendable. Absolutely. We need coaches desperately. But who are you? And
We
that
don't
comes
know.
comes
I
down
work with
to,
a lot
what
of
have you been
coaches.
through?
I work with a lot of coaches in putting together their sales story, their sales
Yeah.
process, getting comfortable around building relationships and sales and revenue
Right.
generation. And most people don't realize the person that they want to help the most is them. It's their profile.
Exactly.
I was talking to this gentleman, and I've known him for years, or I've known him ever since I started my business. And he worked with me last summer, and we're doing a clarity and strategy session. And he's describing to me the person that he wants to work with. He's like,
Mhm.
my avatar is what he said is someone in their 50s. They got let go of corporate America, and they're really searching for their passion, and they're really bumping their head. They don't know what it is they want to do. That's my person. I really want to help them discover their purpose, discover their
Right.
why.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do you know who your avatar is?" And he said, "No." "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Do you know who your avatar is? Not the description, but do you know who the description
It is.
fits?" And he said, "No." And I said, "You."
Right.
You just told me
Exactly.
the story about when you were in your 50s, you got let go from corporate America, a job that you
Right.
thought you were going to be in forever. And then you got out and you didn't know what to do. And he dabbled in real estate, but it was never his passion. It's just what he ended up doing. And so he wasn't successful at it. And
Right.
then along the way, he discovered these networking meetings and he started leading networking groups. And he realized that he wanted to coach and he
Right.
wanted to impact these same people that
Right.
had been through the journey that he had been through to find his
Right.
passion.
Right.
Is it much easier to find the people that you want to attract when you
Mhm.
know that it's you?
That is you.
I
Exactly.
wanted to become what I wanted to become because I wanted to help other messed up people like me. I wanted to
Right.
help the people in the
Right.
journey that had, abusive fathers or like had been
Mhm.
through bankruptcy, had been
Right.
through financial struggles and thought that it was all my fault, thought that it was like
Exactly.
it's just my destiny, right?
Right. That right. That nothing and the thing is that well nothing's going to change. There's
Nothing's
nothing I
gonna
can do to
change.
change.
Yep. And then and then when you do when you get to here, and believe me, I don't have it all figured out. That's the
The,
beauty of life is we're constantly growing and learning. What I
constantly
know
growing.
right now is going to be different 2 months from now,
Oh, yeah. Sometimes what
but
you know right now can change tomorrow.
it can change
And
tomorrow.
you
Yeah,
have those like I call them instant downloads. Some people call them aha moments or light bulb moments or whatever it is that you want to call it. I call them instant downloads. And it was just that instant download that, oh, right. And you have that moment of awareness
yeah,
that you didn't have 3 minutes ago. And
yep,
it's those little moments that lead up or that accumulate to
yeah,
5 years from now. You're going to look back and go, that was a pivotal moment. Oh, I remember that moment. Those kinds of things. And
absolutely.
you'll remember, like they always talk about, that you'll remember when something major in your life happened. Like everybody remembers where they were when 9/11 happened.
Yep,
Everybody remembers where I'll date myself, when John Lennon was killed. They
yeah,
can remember, if they're a John Lennon fan, they will remember what they were doing, who they were with, what they were wearing practically.
yep.
And we're going to be able to look back 5 years from now and say, you know what? This was the day that Jason and I changed the time of our podcast and said, hey, you know what? We're going to talk about this.
Yeah,
And we're going to be able to look back and go, oh, wow, that was the day. And somebody could be listening to this or hearing the replay. And this is the day that their life changes.
hmm.
And
All it
that's
takes
why
is one person to change your life.
and all it takes is one person and in one moment,
Hmm.
good or
Absolutely.
bad,
Good or bad.
good
Absolutely.
or bad,
Yep. Yep.
you
Ah,
know?
man, I know my life has changed tremendously in the just even past 6 months, seven
Yeah,
months, just
yeah,
building the relationships with the people that I have and then seeing them all to come together. We had
yeah,
Dan on last week and how
yeah,
we have a mutual connection.
yeah,
You connected me to Regina, and
right,
that's been awesome. And then I
yeah.
didn't tell you, I don't know if I told you this, but then Regina was connected with my friend Adam.
No, oh, Adam, okay,
So my friend
perfect.
Adam was on her podcast, and
Yeah,
they ended up knowing each other really well. But it's just really cool how the world is getting smaller
yeah,
by going out and meeting those really impactful people
right,
and building good, strong relationships.
exactly, exactly. And that's what it's all about. I mean, like my favorite saying is, I mean, we can't do life on our own.
Yeah.
We can't do
Yep.
life on our own.
Yep.
And those people that try, they're the ones that end up just in a world of hurt. And then
So
they don't know how to get out of it.
this is the story for us this week of my family. So when I was going through school, I hated math. I hated it. And it was one of those things as we talk about mental limitations and being the victim. It was like I suck at math. My family sucks at math. My mom used to say, "We're not good at numbers. We're not good at math."
Mhm.
She would justify it. She'd confirm it,
Right.
right? And it'd make it back then I didn't really think about it, but it's like making that belief even stronger. And
Right.
I can hide behind that belief and be the victim
Right.
to it that I'm just not good at math. So my son at the beginning of this year would look like he was going down the same path. And by the way, I found out I was actually really good at math and it was a strength of mine in business later on in life. And that's a totally
Wow.
different story. But I was watching my son go down the same path, and he just wasn't doing well at math. And at the beginning, he was failing. And so when his teacher was emailing us and letting us know what was going on, I'm like, "What can we do?" And so I jumped on YouTube because there's no reason why anybody fails at anything,
Right.
especially a school subject. You can look up on YouTube.
You can do
There's free
anything.
resources everywhere.
Yeah.
So I find these really awesome tutors on YouTube for free, and I'm watching these videos, and I'm being empowered because for the first time ever, I can multiply
Hmm.
fractions, right, or divide
Right.
fractions. And
Right.
I failed seventh grade math miserably, so I'm like, this is awesome. So I
Hmm.
went down, and every night me and Jackson would work together, and we would go through his practice tasks, and then we'd prepare for his test, and he started getting better. And eventually he didn't need me anymore. And then the other day we got a message saying that he was being asked to, or he was being recommended to do high school math next year in eighth grade. And he's going to get high
Wow.
school credit for it. So he went from being bad at it to getting an
Hmm.
A every semester
Hmm.
and being invited to take the highest math class in eighth grade and being able to get high school credit for it in eighth grade, which
Yeah.
is so the opposite of where I was in seventh grade, eighth grade.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is so incredible one to see. But these are the two things that I noticed with Jackson, and it really ties into our conversation, which is why I'm telling the story.
Right.
One, I noticed about Jackson is that he felt stupid, and so didn't want to ask
Right.
questions. And
Didn't.
even me as his dad, when I
Right.
would see that he had the answer wrong on the
Right.
question, I would ask him questions about it, and he'd get
Hmm.
really defensive, and
Right.
he'd be like, "I don't know," and then he'd rush, "I'm just stupid. I don't get it."
Mhm.
It was very obvious to me that he was not one. He wasn't asking the teacher, and if he was asking the
Mhm.
teacher, he when he didn't understand it, he wouldn't confirm and ask again
Right.
because he felt like he was stupid.
Right.
And so, one, let's get over that. We've
Hmm.
got to get over ourselves. We are stronger together, like what we've been
Right.
talking about.
Exactly.
Um, Being coachable. If you don't know what being coachable is, and we talked about using jargon. If you don't know what being coachable is, like my friend Kelly, that didn't know what it was, it's being able to ask for help. It's
Right.
being able to know that we have shortcomings and that other people can help us, that they can see them, and that when they're telling us something, that they aren't necessarily offending us or being rude, but there's a learning lesson out of it. And
Right.
what
It's
can
a
I
curve.
get out of that? It's a curve. And so when I'm working with Jackson, I made sure that I was extra patient with him and explained to him, I'm not asking you this because I think you're stupid. I'm asking you this so that we can figure it out. I
Right. For
know that you're smart
clarity.
enough to do this, but we've got to figure it out. And if I'm coming at you and I'm asking you a question, I'm not asking you because I think that you're dumb and you're not going to get it. So
Right.
let's figure it out. And as we worked
Right.
through it, he realized I'm not stupid. And he realized, okay, it's okay to ask questions. I gave a different
Right.
security to him than what his teacher had given.
Right.
But you can find tutors, you can find online on
Hmm.
YouTube. And afterwards, I'm like, told him there's no reason to fail. You can look it
Right.
up in any
Right.
place,
Right.
but be coachable, be willing to
Right.
ask, put yourself on the line because vulnerability, like we talked about, to being
Hmm.
vulnerable is the
Right.
key to success.
Right.
Admitting you don't know something is the only
Right.
way to go forward and actually learn it.
Right.
The second
Exactly.
thing I learned about him is
Hmm.
that he was getting this radically different answer, but it wasn't because he was doing the numbers or the math wrong.
Hmm.
It was that he was putting it in the operations. A
Oh, right.
simple problem that is actually a huge problem in the result. What is
Right.
your order of operations? Are you
Right.
doing it in the right sequence?
Right.
Because if not, you're going to get dramatically different results. It doesn't
Right.
mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you weren't ever meant to be an entrepreneur or that you suck at math. It just means that you need to get coaching, get a
Hmm.
different perspective, and
Right.
understand where you need to put your order of operations in your business or in
Right.
your math subject or whatever it is that you're doing,
Right.
and that creates a totally different result.
Right. Exactly. I just did a presentation today on how you learn and then the stages of learning and then part of how personality impacts your learning. And it's so, and I remember one time this morning, it was like, oh, right. We all learn differently. And like for myself, I am a visual reader. Not a visual, a hearing, like to hear it and read it.
Okay. Yep.
That's how I learn. So like if I really need to learn something, I will have it on the screen in front of me and I'm listening to exactly the same thing as what I'm reading. And I had one of the gals that came on, she said, "Gee, I do that." And it was like, exactly. But you know what? So often we don't think about it. And I had one time I was doing that presentation for a group, and one of the girls came on and she said, "Barb, I have to tell you," she said, "for the first time in my life, I don't feel stupid." And I said, "Well, why? You'll tell me more." And she said, "Well, all of my family, I now realize are visual learners."
Oh,
She said, "I'm kinesthetic." She needed to touch and feel things to be able to
yeah.
learn it, to be reading the directions, but having whatever it was that she was trying to do in front of her. And she said, "Barb," and she was in her like 40s. And felt my heart broke for her that she had spent her whole life feeling stupid because she didn't
Ah,
learn the same way as what her family did.
yeah.
And I can relate to, and I could so relate to that because I was the nurturer of, in my vernacular, I'm the nurturer, and all my family were all blueprints. I
Oh,
fit
wow.
in. I learned it to fit in from an early age. You learn to conform, but it wasn't until now that I really know me and I accept me and I like me. How often do you hear people that say, "Well, I don't like who I am," or
Yeah.
they won't admit that they don't like who they are?
I'm telling you what, it's so much free. Life is so much better. I don't have to be a millionaire to
Right.
feel happy right now.
Yeah.
We get to grow businesses and stuff like that, and but we're doing what we love and we're being
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
There's no greater freedom.
Right. Right. And this morning I wanted to cry because I had a tech challenge on Zoom. Oh, brother. Because but you know what, part of the learning curve. So I had set up to do my presentation as a webinar.
Yeah.
I will never, ever, ever do that again. I want to have I want my real I realized for myself that I want to have visual connection with the people that I'm talking
Mm,
to. So
yeah.
now when I do my next presentation next week, I'm going to do it as a Zoom meeting where
Yep.
I'm going to be able to see
See the
everybody.
faces.
They're going to be able to raise their hands and make, and have interaction with them.
Yes.
And that's why it is so important to know who you are. That's why I did the presentation, but it didn't feel comfortable for me. And I did get good feedback from it and had, good, nice comments, but it wasn't the greatest experience for me.
Yeah.
And I can remember you talking about that time that you were doing a webinar that you were having to do the videos and you were talking to a blank wall. And I was
Yep. I thought of that the exact situation. That was, oh, by the way, that went really, really well.
like, cool.
I so the comp or the organization that I did it for, the guy that runs or owns it, founder, he called me up and it was like, this is amazing. I want to send it out to all my members
Hmm.
individually. It was only on demand. He was like, but everybody needs to listen to this. He invited me to be a live speaker at the next year's event.
Yay.
So that was really cool.
Right.
So really cool opportunities out of it. But we talk about sharing vulnerability. I literally incorporated that story into the presentation
Right.
because a lot of people, as I'm telling them, oh yeah, you can sell and build no like trust through the computer
Mhm.
screen. A lot of people are thinking, yeah, but Jason, look at you're energetic. You've
Yeah.
got, you
Right.
like to meet people. You're extroverted. You get energy from people. Of course, it's going to be you. Of course, you want to be around other people. Of course,
Mhm.
you can build no like trust to the screen. Of
Yeah.
course, you're making content.
Yeah.
However, I'm going through this struggle. I'm going, and this struggle is very real. I was making excuses.
Right,
I was struggling. I didn't want to do it. I was going through all the motions. And
right,
so the first key in life is understanding that there are going to be things that you don't want to do. There are
right,
going to be things that don't feel natural, but you if you've committed to it, you've got to embrace it and get through
right.
it. You
Yeah,
know, how can you be successful doing this? And so I tied that story into my whole mantra, eat faces, persevere in spite of the circumstances.
hmm, right,
We can't
right.
control the circumstances.
No,
All we can
exactly.
do is find the solution in the circumstances to thrive in spite of that.
Right,
So I
exactly.
tied that story in. And it's like, hey, for anybody that's naysaying and saying, I can't do this because I'm not, I don't like doing that, or I'm not this person, there's ways to do it and embrace your personality in
Right,
doing it. But I
right,
went through the same exact thing. I went through the same struggle. And look at
right,
here I am.
right, right. And and we all have our own limitations, and most of the time they're here.
Yeah. Yep.
They're
Right
what's
here.
that's
Right here. Yeah.
they're what's right here.
Yep.
It's like I love this the analogy that I use, and use it as a visual too, is of the iceberg, where
Mm,
the part that's visible above the water,
like that big.
that's your conscious mind. The stuff that's under the water of that iceberg, that's your subconscious. What do you think rules? You
Yeah. The
know,
bigger one
and
underwater.
you've got the bigger one underwater, and that is your subconscious. So when you can start putting the little pinprints of light into the subconscious, oh, that's where those instant downloads. Oh yeah, and do I believe that one? No, that's false. Get rid of it.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
I can't do that, that's false.
It is.
It's false. Get
Yep.
rid of it. And if you do, and one of my things, and I have to live by this absolutely quite often, more often than I care to. But you know what? Sometimes when you do fall on your face, you make a mistake. Okay, own up to it. I did it. Fess up.
Yeah.
Take the heat for it. So whatever the repercussions are of it, and sometimes they're little funny things, but sometimes they're a little bit bigger things. But then just move on with it. Let it go. Move
Yeah.
on from it.
Yep.
You've
Yeah.
looked.
Sometimes we hold on to those things for years and we don't move past them. And that one instance took us back. All we do is focus on that thing. Focus on the
Yeah,
present. Focus on
yeah,
what you have.
yeah. One one of the things that I remember quite often is in Frasier, when Frasier was doing a focus group, and he had like this focus group. I think there was like 50 people in the focus group, and 49 of them loved what he was doing, and this one guy, and he was so focused on the one guy that didn't like what he was doing. And I'm like, isn't that just a
Yep.
picture of life sometimes? We so
Yep.
focus on the things that went wrong
Ah,
that we don't focus on the other 12 things that were awesome, and we don't celebrate them.
when I first started speaking, I was speaking for the company that I took over, and I was the director of sales. And it was a tensious company because I came in and was bringing a new culture in. I was creating new rules. I was doing a lot of changes.
Mhm,
So there was a lot of people that were scared and nervous, and so they didn't like me.
mhm,
And there was, as I was standing up in front of the company and giving these speeches, I would always lock eyes with the person that I knew liked me the least, and I would see her eyes rolling, and it'd shake my confidence.
right,
I had to learn to identify and know the people that were getting my message
right,
and lock in on them.
right,
Because anybody else that's not, they can get up and leave. They don't have to be here. I'm not the
right,
person for them.
right,
That's it is what it is.
yeah,
And so, but why focus on that one
right.
when I have a whole crowd of people that are
I
getting
get
it and
it.
that want to be there and
Right,
that understand what I'm talking about or motivated by what I'm talking about.
exactly.
If
You
it's
know,
only one person, focus on that one person.
but focus on the person that's smiling at you.
Yes.
And then and realize that, like, especially like now, because we're doing so much of everything virtual,
Yeah.
that and if you see, don't focus on the people that don't have their number one, don't have their camera on. You don't know if they're there or not.
Yeah,
So
that's so
what?
true.
and and then, because right at that moment, if they don't want to participate, okay, fine, that's their loss.
Yep.
And if somebody they can always if they don't somebody doesn't like what you're saying, they don't agree with it, they can leave.
Absolutely. And that's the
And
same thing with doing business
they can
in
leave.
sales. That's another sales and marketing tip. Don't worry about the people that don't fit your criteria and that don't want to
Yeah.
be involved in you, because you can't make an impact in them anyways.
Oh,
I just I just signed on a client that is extending from our initial sessions, and so
mhm.
they committed to a three
Yeah.
month program.
Yeah.
And I love working with these guys. They energize me.
Exactly.
We get in a room and I ask them questions, and it makes
Mhm.
them think. And
Yeah.
they're very smart, and they love what they do, and so they're writing down notes, and it's making those sparks. I get energized by working with people
Right.
like that.
Right.
We joke because they work with people, clients that they like to work with, and they know the pains of working with clients that they don't like working with, just like I do.
Yeah.
And they had mentioned, we love working with you, this is amazing. I'm like, I love working with you guys, and
Right.
you know how painful it is when you work with
Mhm.
people that you don't like working with.
Right, exactly. Like my new client that I just got today, in that she's in England. She's so excited. It's going
Oh,
to be
that's awesome.
so much fun to work with her, and she's already thinking about who she can share this with. And so, of course, as she started sharing that, boy, I'll be able to share it with this person and that person, and and because it galvanizes you. So I said to her, I said, you know what? I would love to do a presentation for your group. She said, you would? And I said, well, absolutely. I would love to do a presentation for your group.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now, so that broadens her horizons, because now she's going to be able to expand her reach, because and she's going to be able to bring on, she said, oh, and she said, and so it starts your wheels turning.
Yes.
It starts your wheels turning. And she said, oh, and I've got a couple of startups that might be interested. And already her wheels were turning. I'm going to share with you a funny story of wheels turning.
All right.
It's a fond memory. My dad want always the whole for all of our lives always said that he wanted to live to be 100, always, and
Crazy.
all the time, every birthday he would say, oh yeah, I'm going to live to be 100. When he was 98, he got really sick, and he was just in the hospital, and he was just kind of lying there one day, and we had all, like, I had done a rush trip home from Chicago to Montreal because my sister called and said, Dad's not going to make it. And so as we were all sitting, the four of us, I'm one of four girls, and we were all sitting, standing around his bed, and he was saying, oh, I think this is it. I don't think I'm going to make it, because he was just feeling so bad. And my oldest sister, looked at him and said, you know what, Daddy, what happened to you wanting to live to be 100 to get your letter from the Queen? Jason, we literally witnessed the wheels
Oh
start
my
to
God.
turn.
I'm waiting for the goosebump moment. Like, this is
And
amazing.
he looked at us and he said, I do want my letter from the Queen. And he lived to be 102.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
And the fun thing is, Jason, I have his letter from the Queen on my wall.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Talk about the wheels turn and the power of a thought of, and that is why it is so important to have coaching, because sometimes you can hear one thing and it starts the
Yep.
wheels to turn.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite
Ah,
stories of wheels turning. We literally watched my dad, and it was in that moment that he started to get well again, and he lived to be 102.
wow. That is so amazing.
Yeah,
The
and
power of the mindset,
the
one,
power of mind.
but two, our mind has that power, but sometimes we grow weak. Sometimes
Exactly.
we hear people say it's our time. Some
Yeah,
people say you're not going to
yeah,
make it another day, and
right.
we believe
Yeah,
other
and
people's
we believe
garbage.
it. Yeah,
And then all of a sudden somebody comes along and believes in you, or they make
yeah,
your wheels turn. They
yeah,
throw out this question that makes you
right.
realize you had this passion, you had this
Yeah,
belief, you
or
had
a
this
goal.
desire, you had this goal.
This was, you had a goal. So it was just, and we laugh about, and we talk about that because we literally saw his wheels start to turn.
That's amazing.
And yeah, and then he lived to be 102, and just, yeah, so it was
That's
fun.
a
But
phenomenal story.
yeah, yeah, but it's the power of a story. to
Yeah,
illustrate a
absolutely.
point,
Absolutely.
and why storytelling is so important. And one of the things that I have people do is like, just learn a couple of stories. Learn a
Yep.
few of your stories
Yep.
so that they feel, so that they come across as being natural and that you're just telling a story.
Yep. Yep.
And that's
I
all it is.
I was grateful. I read a book right when I started my business because I wanted to be a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to put together my presentation, start putting together my stories, and I bought a book, and I couldn't even tell you what the name of it was. It's put on by the NSA, the National Speakers Association.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that put it together. I can't think what it was called off the top of my head, or I'd recommend it. But one of the things they talked about is embracing your stories and how to put the
Mm-hmm.
stories together. In my brainstorming session, I wrote out my stories. You know,
Right.
my what overcoming triumph. You know, like the whole
Right.
like movies, right?
Right.
We all
The
have
little, yeah.
movies that have
Right.
happened in our life. What are those moments that have in your life?
Yeah.
What was the challenge? Who
Right.
were the villains? Like,
Right.
how did you overcome the
Yeah.
challenges? What's the results? Tell those stories because that's what pulls people in. Because, like what you said, if you've thought it, if you've been through it, other people have been through it or thought it too. And so when you share
Right.
that, it
Yeah.
brings people in. And
Yeah.
especially when you're helping people around those stories, those are
Right.
the stories when you're helping people along
Yeah.
that helps people understand what it is that you're doing because
Right.
everybody can relate to that story.
Exactly.
Like I told
Exactly.
Sparkle, everybody in that room related with you because when you said everybody just wants someone to be by their side.
Right.
Nobody wants to go through
Right.
bankruptcy alone.
Right.
Nobody wants to go through addiction struggles alone. They
Right.
want somebody to be by their side and ask them, "What do you think? Am I making the right decision?" And
Right.
then when you have somebody that is trained and like they think like in a way to ask you questions to
Mm-hmm.
get you
Right.
understand what you feel,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Sparkle has this great potential client. However, they also want her to be working at their place or be at their place
Mm-hmm.
40 hours a week. That
Right.
doesn't fit in her mold.
No.
That doesn't fit
No.
in her vision.
Right.
And so I said, you have a decision to make.
Right.
And you need to understand what are you going to be happy with. List off what you're going to be happy with.
Right.
And then because she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. Where are you going to be happy?
Right. Right.
Because if you say I'm you because you want the money or you want the good client that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go and move forward with this
Right.
deal in a few months you're going to be resentful
Right.
and you're
No,
not
and
going to
how
give them your best work.
right? And how many people do we know who are in jobs that they hate?
Oh my god, most of them. It's funny, all these people are hiring, right? All these
Yeah.
companies are hiring
Yeah.
and I'm sure good companies are
Yeah.
struggling with hiring too. It is just
Right.
what it
Yeah.
is. But it's like the restaurants and the jobs that
Oh,
nobody liked but
thanks.
they just did and they're making like $2 an
Yeah.
hour if they don't
Yeah.
get tips. Why
Yeah.
would they go back to make
Right.
$2 an hour at 25%
Exactly.
capacity or 50%
Ex-
capacity where they're not
Right.
going to make the money in tips?
Exactly.
Those are the jobs that
No.
are going to struggle because people didn't want to be there in the first place.
Right.
Fix
Yeah.
your culture.
Yeah. It's like I have to admit, I mean, I still work at my little restaurant. And people say to me, well, if you're a coach and you have your own business, why do you work at the restaurant? I said, because it gets me up, gets me talking to people. I'm moving, I'm having fun. I have fun with the customers. And
Oh my
it's
God,
like,
I'd
oh,
love to run into you at a restaurant, Barbara.
it's a, oh, okay, I'm going to tell on myself. I am a little bit more spontaneous than the average person, I think, probably. Let's put it go. And so it was on Mother's Day and we were really busy. And so, but I had said, hey, I'll work it. Mother's Day. Well, anyways, it was also one of the ladies' birthdays. And I said, well, okay, fine. I literally had the whole restaurant sing happy birthday to her. She was like, well, then, of course, one of the other servers came up to me and she said, gee, Barb, it's Mike's birthday. And it's like, well, let's do it again. And that is the thing is
Yeah.
be yourself and have a good time. People
Ah,
love it. And yet people will turn to me and say, Barb, how can you do that? And the lady looked at me and she said, that just came right out, didn't it? And I went, absolutely.
it's
Because
me.
that's me. And now I've quit apologizing for me.
Yeah. Yes. And
Big
guess what?
thing.
People love you.
And
Guess what?
so
How all
now,
those people had so much fun. They're going to
and
remember that experience
that they're
forever.
going to remember that experience. And it was also a little boy's birthday. And so I bought him ice cream. I bought
That's
him the
so
little ice
cool.
cream sundae. It was also, he was 6. And so we all sang, his name was Braxton. And it was like, and he just glowed. He just thought that's the whole, because the entire restaurant, I mean, it's not a big place, but the entire restaurant sang happy birthday. And it
So
was
cool.
it was such fun. And it's those memorable moments that he's going to remember.
Those stories will outlive you because Braxton will always remember that one. The
Yeah.
people that always come into that restaurant, or people will tell
Yeah.
stories within their family. Remember that day we went to that restaurant and we were all
Yeah.
singing for that waitress? Like, I know because we
Yeah.
tell those stories around our
Yeah.
family table. Remember
Exactly.
that? You remember those experiences.
Yeah.
It's not what you
Yeah.
said, it's not what you did, it's how you made people feel.
And how you made people feel. So, anyways, and you know what, Jason, you and I could talk forever, but
I know, which is awesome because
we
we're
have
lined
to
up to
cut this
talk
off.
every week. So this is amazing.
But yeah, so this is everybody. I hope you have a great day. This is Barbara Ellison, your personality pro, because personality does drive reality. Hey, if you're watching this, leave us some notes, and leave it, because we're not supposed to do in the Book of Face all the stuff that they're trying to tell us that we're not allowed to do. So leave us some love, and you know where to leave it. Let us put hashtag replay, and this has been great. And Jason, you're amazing.
Thank you. Yours too.
Thank you. So,
awesome. I'll see everybody next week.
We are going to say, hey, okay, well, let's talk about this because we're still here.
Yeah.
Same time? Do
I'm
3
good
o'clock?
I'm good at this time. My mornings on Wednesday, I'm like, when you ask me, I'm like, I really want to. This would be amazing. But that time, I know I'm constantly butting right up against it. And I want to be able to give you my best and give the audience the best and not be rushing and scrambling. So if this time works for you, I'm good with it.
This works for me. So, okay. People,
awesome.
You were here when we officially
made the history.
We made history. We are now going to be going 3 Central Time for the Everyday Riches Show. Because remember, every day there's riches. All you have to do is look for them and accept them. Big thing. Accept them. So often we just gloss over them.
You figured out the technology this week.
And I feel that.
Fist bumps.
Yes. And we went live.
We went live. We did it.
We did it. Okay, Jason.
Awesome.
Same time next week.
Same time next week.
And you're gonna bring the mystery guest.
I'll bring a guest. Yeah, I'll key you in this time so we can promote him. I'll see if Sparkle's available since I talked about her this week.
And we needed just a picture and stuff. So
awesome. Sounds good.
Perfect. Awesome, Jason. Have a great week.
You too.
Talk to you soon. Okay. Yeah. Bye bye.